Welcome to Patética Fonética.
Hi, welcome to the second videocast in the Patética Fonética series. My name is Chris and I will be introducing to you today the top 5 worst excuses for not pronouncing properly. Number 1 is that you've been pronouncing words wrong for such a long time that maybe you think that it's too late, that there's no point in changing and learning how to get things right now. Maybe you could use that excuse in court. I've been doing things wrong for such a long time that I can't change, and maybe it's okay that I don't do them right now. I'm not sure the judge would agree with you though.
This man is Ramon. 73 years ago, his first English teacher told him that English pronunciation was difficult, and ever since then, Ramon has said difficult. It's like a habit, but we know that some habits are unpleasant, disgusting, uncivilized. Some habits can be annoying even when people mean well. Today, at 86, Ramon no longer says difficult, he says
difficult.
It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than difficult, don't you think?
Number 2 on the list is that people might think you're pretentious if you go out of your way to pronounce things right. I don't think so. I think that people expect you to pronounce things right, and more than that, they'll appreciate when you pronounce things right. Maybe if you go extremely over the top and pronounce everything with a surreal, over-the-top English accent, then maybe people could perceive that as being a little bit pretentious.
And now we only need some flour.
Number 3 is the potential excuse that other people don't pronounce well. That might be other people in Spain, or other people from other countries in Europe, or other countries in the world, for example, who are trying to speak English. But the problem is, if everybody gets together in Spain and tries to speak English but doesn't bother pronouncing it well, then you might as well be speaking Spanish. Okay? If you're going to speak English, then do it properly.
I'm going to tell you a story about a very nice dinner in a very nice restaurant in Warsaw with a friend of mine. He's Japanese and we normally understand each other very well. But when he wanted to order the dessert, he kept saying "isukurumo, isukurumo," and I couldn't understand him. At last, I could understand that he wanted to say ice cream, but it was so difficult to understand him.
Number 4 on the list is the potential excuse that English sounds are more difficult for Spanish speakers. But the truth is, while some sounds in the English language are more difficult for Spanish speakers, mostly the sounds are just different. And the big difference is the position in the word where those sounds come. For example, with lots and lots of consonants, they all exist in Spanish, but they're just used at the beginning or in the middle of words instead. So we know that you can say them, but perhaps you might have to say them at the end of the word. It's not difficult. Have a go.
So you say you can read in English?
Yes, of course I can.
All right. Now, can you read this?
Yes. Ice cream.
Ice cream.
Yes.
Now, how about this?
Ice cream.
Okay. Excuse number 5, potentially lame, horrible excuse is that you just don't get the practice with teachers that are from Spain, maybe movies that are dubbed in Spanish, that originate from England or from America, from English-speaking countries, and you simply don't get the practice, or you don't hear how to pronounce the English language. The problem with this is that if you want to exist in a fantasy world where everybody speaks English but with a Spanish accent, once again, you might as well just speak Spanish. If you really want to interact with the English-speaking world, then half of the job is knowing how the words sound, not just how to spell them.
¿Pero y todo lo que dijiste anoche?
Anoche fue anoche. Ahora quiero que te montes en esa barca y huyas con Víctor.
Y perderte para siempre.
Más se perdió en Cuba.
Cuba. ¿Qué habrá dicho en inglés?
¿Qué pasa? ¿Quieres escucharlo en inglés?
Pues dale al botón del audio, que esto es un DVD, tío.
Where were we?
Más se perdió en Cuba.
Oh yes.
But we always have buddies.
We will.
He's looking at you, kid.
Okay, now that we've looked at the top 5 worst excuses for not pronouncing things right, let's have a look at the experiences of a native English speaker while living over here in Spain, and the problems that he had with the V sound.
Kevin Salvage is an English teacher who's lived in Spain for quite some time now, and we asked him about the importance of the V sound.
Is it really very important to pronounce the V sound in English? It's a very interesting question. From a personal point of view, my first name is Kevin, and at the beginning here I was I felt awkward correcting people who called me Kevin. Somebody even thought my name was Kevin at the beginning. Of course, Kevin now is a very common name. There's Kevin Costners, De Jesus. I've got 3 children in this instituto here who are called Kevin as well. My second name is Salvage, which also produces the V sound. The Spanish pronunciation of my surname is Salvaje. Kevin Salvaje. So the V sound has always been something of a problem to me here in Spain. Is it important? It's a very good question. I think everybody should try and pronounce the V sound if they can. Berry and very to start with, for example. They're 2 completely different words. It's interesting though to think that every single country in Europe and in the world has its own different problems with English. So don't get hung up on this point.
Kevin now makes an interesting point. He explains how most Spaniards don't pronounce their V's. However, many Germans tend to pronounce them even when they probably shouldn't. So it looks like Osgood was right. Nobody's perfect.
The German people that come to England are excellent at pronouncing the V sound, for example. But what they cannot pronounce very well is the W sound. So unfortunately for the German tourist who arrives to Britain, asking where, what and when in the tourist office becomes an example of pronouncing the V sound. Where is the cathedral? Of what time does it open? And when will there be the church service? Of course, everybody understands what they're saying. They've communicated the idea. There's no big deal. But it's important, if you can, to try and pronounce these different sounds.
Time now for the technical analysis of the V sound. So, let's get practical. How do you pronounce that? Pretty simple. You focus on the area of contact, which should be right here. You should make it possible for your upper teeth to touch your lower lip. Okay? So, okay. This is the cross-section of somebody's head. The nose, eyes, upper lip, lower lip, so the area of contact should be here. Now, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for something like this. So from the outside, it's sort of subtle, and it's never, you see? It's never like this. Because if you speak like that, nobody can understand. Okay. No, it's never like that. But even if it was like that, you would have no excuse. Because although you may think otherwise, in actual fact, we do that very often in our daily life.
We do it when we learn a certain kind of news, when we dislike something, when we celebrate, when we make an effort, when we think, or we look forward to something.
You see? So we do that. We do. But we don't need to do that in order to pronounce the V. We just need to put we need the same setup that we have when we pronounce the F. Let's check it out.
A ver, Fernando, termina de una vez que esto me pone enferma.
Did you see that? That was a native speaker of Spanish pronouncing the F sound. Let's look at it once again. Let's stop there, right there, right there. You see? She's not making a funny face. She's not making an extra effort to say Fernando. No, she's just Fernando. Alright, so I think we have seen a couple of interesting points. The V sound exists in English, doesn't exist in Spanish, but we have a very similar sound, which is the F. And the bottom line is we have no excuse. We know how to put our teeth, and it's not so difficult. So, homework. A combination of V and B in the same word. How about everybody? Can you say everybody naturally? At first you might need to say everybody, but then, in a few years, in a few weeks, you might surprise yourself saying, everybody. It's very easy. I'll see you next month when we will take a look at another difficult sound, the sh sound. Until then, bye.
There is a difference between TV
And TB.
There is a difference between a V-neck and a B-neck.